This is probably the best deal I have ever picked up, at least at the time. I couldn't believe the price when I saw it. $40 for a Ryzen 5 1600. This was a couple of months ago, in the last week of
6 years
January,
ago, I
and
think.
I picked this up off of Facebook Marketplace. Usually
like it
when I
was
see a
six,
good,
about 6
when
years
somebody,
ago.
when I see that
6 or
somebody has a
7,
good deal,
possibly
I'll
7,
browse
could be.
whatever other stuff they're
Somewhere
selling.
in there, 6, 7,
You know,
more
they
than
might have
6,
something
less
else,
than
and in this
7.
case they did. They also had a
Let's call it 6 and a
motherboard for
half.
sale, which was compatible with the CPU, and an 800 watt gold rated power supply by Enermax. These were listed at $45 each, but I asked him if he would do $120 for the whole lot after asking him a couple of questions. In the posting that he had for the CPU, he said he was selling it because it turned out to be incompatible with the motherboard. And in the motherboard listing, he said he was selling it because it turned out to be incompatible with the CPU. And I asked him if one was a reference to the other, was that motherboard compatible with that CPU that he was selling? And then he told me it was kind of sketchy, but yeah, he told me that they were working together, but that the GPU was giving out on him. Like anytime he would fire up a game or anything 3D intensive, the system would just freeze up on him. Well, not the whole system, but the video signal. Like whatever he was doing, it would freeze up, but he could still hear what was going on in the background. So yeah, I took a risk on this. This was picked up in Santa Monica, which without traffic
Beverly over to Santa
would
Monica,
have taken
that all the way
me
up.
maybe 30-40 minutes. But with traffic, it ended up taking me about an hour and a half. So it was 3 hours in total to go and pick this up and bring it back. Now for the rest of the system, our GPU is a GTX 1060 3GB model by Asus. And I grabbed this for $70 a little while ago. The RAM I got for about $60, $65 I should say. It actually came with the case. This is a Team RGB 3000 megahertz kit, 16 gigs. We have a 128 gig SSD, which I picked up for $7.50. I actually picked up two at 15. And a 545 gigabit SSD by Crucial, the MX300, which I grabbed for $25. And as for the PSU and case, which I grabbed together for $20. The case is I'm not sure what it is. It says Cooler Master and Elite on it. It has no USB 3.0 up front. And the power supply is a 400 watt rated PSU by EVGA. So adding it all up, it comes out to be $274.50. There was another $7 added on because the motherboard was missing the back plate for the heatsink. And also this would have been a better bang for buck if I held on to an RX 480 8GB model, which I picked up for $60, but I ended selling that off pretty quickly. Kind of wish I had held on to it so I could bench it, but oh well, hopefully the new owner is using it and enjoying it. I do have other cards I compare with this, such as a GTX 1070, but maybe I'll make another video for that where I just compare the CPU with the different GPUs that I have. To help me with cable management, I use this garden wire, which I found at the 99-cent store. At the 99-cent store. I guess all there is to do now is run some tests, some benchmarks, some games, some apps. As usual, these benches aren't thorough by any means. They're just kind of to give you an idea of, rather a rough idea of, what the max settings are that you can still reach 60 FPS at. This is Battlefield 1 on 4K with the graphics quality on the low preset. Looked like it glitched out completely before this loaded. Before I hit the record button again, the screen was frozen and it looked pretty artifact. It was like just a silhouette of some of the stuff that's on screen. It's sitting at 60 FPS. This is only the beginning and there's nothing going on. You know, I'm sure once bombs start dropping, it's gonna take a hit. Yeah, you see 50. It is pretty stuttery. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. It kind of looks like internet lag. Even though it's a single player game, you know how like it seems like it's going forward and then back, forward and then back. It's pretty consistent too. Looks like it depends where you're looking, because if I'm going this way, it's not happening. If I look over here, it's still not happening. Oh, yeah, it's happening right there. So I guess if there's a lot more on screen, it's gonna happen. So yeah, I wouldn't really. I mean, it's playable, but it's pretty annoying. Yeah, I'm gonna change it to 1440 now. This is too much stuttering. It's at 1440 now. They're still tearing, even though this is a G-Sync compatible display. I didn't see anywhere to limit the frame rate specifically to 99, which I think is under the V-Sync threshold. It looks like it's locked at 60. Did I change it somewhere? Maybe I did. I don't know. I need to check. I can't find anywhere that I might have limited the frame rate. It just seems odd to me that it's not going above 60 at all. Yeah, it's still at 60. It's capped somewhere. Is V-Sync on? No, it says it's on. Okay, so the frame rate is definitely capped. So I can't really figure out what's going on with this. Why it's capped. Maybe it's a G-Sync thing, but it doesn't seem like it is because it's tearing anyway. Well, at least you know you can hit 60 FPS at 1080p ultra settings. And it seemed like at 1440p it was also doing solid 60, so let's do, and that was at low settings. Now let's do 1080p ultra. Yeah, it's still at 60 at ultra. Alright, actually let's do ultra 1440p. Oh, went to 62 right now, what? Okay, ultra 1440p, 60 FPS, interesting. So 4K low, it couldn't handle it. This actually looks smoother than 1080. It looks like there's less tearing, just slightly less. Let me do high 4K. Come on, you can do it. You got it. Come on, let's go. No, tell me it froze again. Yeah, I think it froze again. Oh, never mind. Looks like it's trying to get its bearings and oh wow, not even on high, huh? Okay, then let's do low again just to see if that crazy stutter that was going on in the beginning is still happening, where it seemed like it was internet lag. No, that's actually gone. So it was some kind of bug, some kind of glitch, and it's sitting at over 50 FPS now. So it looks like you can run this at 4K and have a decent experience. 4K low settings. Alright, that's it for this. Here's Fortnite. Nope, never mind. It failed sign in and now it's stuck on preparing launcher, so I'm not gonna bench this game this time. Womp womp. This is Apex Legends 4K. Looks like everything is turned down and low. Big hiccup right there. Yeah, I wouldn't play this at 4K. Okay, that's enough of that. Let me see if I turn down this thing right here, texture streaming budget. Yeah, that didn't really make a difference.
The goggles do nothing.
So this is at 1440 now. I turned the texture streaming budget back to what it was, to the 3 gig. And it seems like it's actually playable. Not ideal, because it's still below 60 FPS, but it's pretty close. Where are the grenades? Here we go.
Throwing arc star. Frag out. Throwing arc star.
This is at 1080 now. Sitting at well over 60. I don't know what I'm doing. This game runs fine at 1080. Issue I bumped into after I installed the NVIDIA. Blah blah blah. Long story short, Doom's not working. I probably have to reinstall it, but I don't want to do that right now. This is GTA 5 at 4K. Everything is turned down except for a few sliders. Indoors, I'm getting over 100 FPS. Stepping outside, going for a ride. Over 60 FPS with everything turned down, so I'm not gonna bother benching out of the resolutions, because if it's running this well at 4K, even though the settings are turned down, you know you can get it to run this well at lower resolutions. by turning the settings up. And this game still looks pretty good with all the settings turned down at 4K. Doesn't take away from the experience not much at all. So Afterburner is reporting 28 and 29 while the in-game bench is reporting a little bit higher. The way it's running right now without VSync, dipping below 30, I wouldn't say this is playable. I mean, it's playable, but it's barely playable. The resolution to 1440p and run it again. So right here it's running at around 45. So even at 1080, you can't expect it to go below 60 at its worst. Seems like at it, actually I don't know what the average scenery is in this. I'm guessing maybe when you're somewhere high and a lot of the map is shown, it's gonna take a hit, but when you're confined like this, there's not much to render, and you'll be hitting 60 plus. I don't really like that benchmark because it doesn't show you any fighting. So going by that benchmark, you have no idea what it's going to be like when you're fighting. Like I just played the opening scene a few minutes ago and there were a lot of NPCs on screen and you're fighting in that area. So I'm gonna fire up the story mode just to see what it's like wherever I am in the story, which is somewhere towards the very beginning, if not the very beginning. Here. Okay, so with not a lot of action, no action at all, 60 FPS. High up and looking down, exposing a lot of the map. Doesn't really take too big of a performance hit. It's still sitting on a constant 60.
No.